Against the couple, some ball in towards Shushayeta. Back off the post. Mobwa for MacArthur. A quite remarkable story.
Well, hello and welcome to Bull Banter, the only podcast focused on the A-League, the MacArthur Bulls, and all things football. I'm joined here, as always, with Daniel Sims. Daniel, how's your week been?
Mate, pretty good. Top of the table. We're running New South Wales. We're running Sydney like Omicron right now. We're just tearing through teams. And yeah, love and life at the top.
Yeah, let's hope it stays that way. It's a good feeling to look down on others. And, with the team playing the way we are, playing absolutely out of our skin, everyone, is sort of waiting for us to fall. And the boys just keep proving them wrong. And we did so again on Saturday night up against the Wanderers. And before we jump into it and dissect it, I just have to remind anyone who happens to be a Wanderers supporter that your life peaked in 2014. And it's probably time to jump ship because we're the team of the future and you're the team of the past.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. The white, black and gold or yellow is here to take over Sydney with, 2 from 2 against Sydney teams so far in the A-League season. So no goals conceded. Yeah. The FFA Cup, it counted last week when we were in it still, but now not at all.
Doesn't matter. Put it on the league.
Yeah. But yeah, 2-0 against the Wanderers at what's their home ground?
Stadium.
CommBank Stadium.
It used to be Bankwest. It's always been named after a bank. That's how you can remember.
Okay. But yeah, solid performance. And I thought we really bounced back from that FFA Cup game.
Yeah, we were a bit, I guess, I wouldn't say worried because we have the sort of the skin over the Wanderers in our matchups. Even when they've sort of drawn to us, it's been through lucky stuff like a flick on or whatever. But, at Bankwest, we've done it before and it's happened again. History repeating itself. We've won on their home turf and, the Wanderers fans were pretty pissed off. And you got to say, for us after that midweek fixture, they rested their side. We had, half our squad pretty much getting minutes in the midweek who ended up playing. So some of them doing 120 minutes even, and they look fresher. And you can't fault it. Obviously, Ante's got the guys just, sticking to the plan, completely buying in, and they'll run through walls for him.
Yeah. In case you missed it, RBB TV it sort of went a bit viral. The interview with Boz, one of the
post-match. It's
post-match,
A-League version of Arsenal fan TV.
Yeah, and exactly right. When Wanderers are resting blokes against Apia, they have no excuse.
We should also let our fans know COVID has wreaked havoc again. It's bumped us back onto Zoom recording. So if you pick up any background noise, that's an unfortunate side effect of this. But we missed the set and we want to get back into the garage as soon as possible. But yeah, we got a game to pour through. So we started pretty well. I thought we set up very defensively because it's worked for us throughout the whole season so far. Our structures were good. We had a really good, we were pressing when we needed to, but we let them have the ball. I thought that when we did have the ball, we were a little bit uneasy, particularly when we worked it to our wing backs. They were either receiving it really deep and didn't really have a pass forward, or they got it up the field and it was just picking the wrong moments. So we really were hemmed back in that first half. And apart from a really dangerous strike and a little bit of individual brilliance from Tommy Orr, It seemed like a pretty lackluster first half. I think Ante certainly sent them out there just to go, let's get 0-0 at halftime, and then we'll make our changes and see what happens. And I think it really worked for us. Like, obviously, we got the 2-0 victory in the end, but we got to start with that defensive structure, and everything else flows from there. And it paid dividends.
Yeah, like the first 30 minutes especially was really like back and forth. Both sides were sort of just feeling out the game, sort of seeing where, that advantage for either side could really come from. We were happy just to let them have the ball at the back, and then they weren't really pressing us either. So it was just both sides sort of having a crack at, testing out, moving the ball side to side. Wanderers actually had a few decent chances, like quite early on in the game. Caught us on the back foot a little bit, but still they were like half chances.
And we were better for them, like better than them in the individual battles. It was almost like we were okay with letting them have a go, because we kind of just trusted that whoever was marking who could get it, or even if they were through, it was kind of like we're gambling on the fact that they were just not good enough to finish. And they clearly weren't. Like, the best chance they had was Bernie Abini header on the 6-yard line, and Kurto, springs down to his right to save it. But, the way Milicic has drilled this side, there's just so much faith and belief. Like, we could have let them have the ball for 90 minutes and they wouldn't have scored. It's just the way that you get that vibe in the game, that everyone's calm, collected at the back. Everyone knows their role defending as a squad, and, we could do it for days. But it takes more than that to win a game. And I do want to see us push forward with the ball a bit more. I think there was a few opportunities, especially after we won the ball in midfield, to push the ball forward early. And again, we just picked the wrong passes or chose the wrong moments, chose the wrong options, and then the moment's gone. I think we'll see that happen a lot more often, especially when De Villa gets back. Tommy Orr put in a really good shift in the midfield, kept it ticking over. And Charles, again, he's really cemented that deep-lying midfielder role. But it's just, some of the options were really shut down quite quickly for us. Even though our midfield had a good game, I think early on, especially, the Wanderers came out with a lot of energy. They started high tempo, and they sort of boxed us out of the midfield. So always the ball was going to the left wing back or the right wing back, and usually they were having to come back to receive it. So it was very one-out stuff. It ended up being kicked long for Lockie quite a few times, and battling against, again, two centre backs. He was not getting a lot of joy, especially in the first half. But late on in the first half, we did a really good job of sort of possessing. We actually got our chance in their final third, and made some noise down there, got some shots away. But it wasn't until the second half where things sort of opened up more, the changes happened, and I think it really went according to plan for Ante.
Yeah. I'd like to touch on how you said there's so much belief in our defense. And I think going forward long term, I'm not sure if we can rely on that like relentless last ditch defensive effort to, get a block on a shot, or, rely on Kurto to make another like 5 brilliant saves per game.
Against better sides, we will get found out. I agree.
Against like a Melbourne City or an informed Jets side that we might face on Sunday,
or even Victory look pretty lethal this year.
Yeah, it could be worrisome against a side that's going to take their chances, unlike Sydney FC and the Wanderers currently.
I think we've just kind of lucked out as well. Like the opposition, for a few reasons. The opposition we've faced have all been these sides who want to possess the ball and try and move it around and then release it, right, for the attack. And that's played into our hands. Wellington, you could argue they're a bit more counter-attacking, but the Mariners under Nick Montgomery are a lot more possession-based than we've seen in previous years. Sydney obviously want to keep the ball. Wanderers want to play that, possession-style game, sort of like we did last season. But we're playing a lot more effective this year, and just basically baiting them onto us, and then unleashing these attacks and trusting that we can hold them out. We can get through the tough moments. And then when we do have the ball, we know we have the quality in the final third to get it done. Obviously, we're not creating as many chances as last season, but when you're this clinical, it doesn't really matter, does it?
No. So I'll have to butt in there. Like as you said, Wellington's the only sort of non-possession based team we've versed, and they're the only side that scored against us so far. And Mariners are
not from open play.
Yeah, not I see. Like even that had to be a pen. Mariners, they're just sort of off the pace a little bit this season. Some days they're good, some days they're off, but
I think they're still finding their feet too.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I guess it all came together finally for us in the 63rd minute or so.
After the changes were made. And I think this is where Ante separates himself from someone like Carl Robinson. This is where he made all the changes. Every single change he made was effective, right? Liam Rose comes on the midfield, makes a big difference. He had Holman come on. Obviously, we're going to talk about his influence on the match. And, getting just the right players at the right time to come in, making a difference. Nazarene and Tate Russell came on for the Wanderers and did nothing, essentially. Maybe tried even too hard. Like Nazarene had a few shots from distance because he's just, obviously trying to work his way into the first 11 there. And you could argue that Tate Russell was a bit culpable for the goal. I mean, the reason why we scored our breakaway goal, that second one, was simply because he's come on, thrown the ball, because he's playing sort of wing back, and he's not gotten back quick enough. And midfielders had to track the run of De Silva once Lockie's flicked it on, and they just weren't able to adjust to that situation. But it did break for us midway through the 60th minute. We had a bit of sustained pressure there, a corner. Najar nearly sort of put it back in the middle for Lockie. And then from there, we've worked it back out through Charles. Charles has found Daniel De Silva, who, again, like every week we're saying this, he just looks class. Like he looks, even with De Villa not there, he looks like no one's going to take the ball off him. Like he's always going to find the right pass. He's going to sustain the pressure. And, even though it was a bit deflected, he found the right ball into the area, flicked on by Lockie Rose. And then after second time of asking, knocked home by Tommy Uzcock. And didn't he love it?
Yeah. Gave him the shush as he rightly should. That's such a game. But Charles was so crucial in that goal because the ball gets headed out off the corner, falls to him outside the box, and you're sort of thinking like, oh, just hit it. But, he takes a decent enough first touch, and to the Wanderers' credit, they hound him down, send like two players towards him to turn him around. But he just is able to turn it. He knows De Silva's still out there after taking the corner, works it out to him. And then De Silva is always one-on-one. You're going to bet that he's going to beat his man, especially when it's James Teresi trying to defend him.
I mean, I saw, if you look closely at him, what he does, he sort of realizes where he is and he just goes, all right, I know I can make this guy sort of jockey backwards until I make a move. So he just kind of does that slow, or not slow, but like close in dribbling up until he gets him over his into his own box. And that way, when he takes him on, he knows he can't dive in. So it makes room for the cross to come in. Very intelligent play. Like, he could have taken him to the byline as well. He could have looked for the penalty, but knowing how many bodies we had in the box still up from the corner, that's very intelligent play. Working the defender back, knowing that if they dive in, I'm winning a pen. And if not, well, I've got a free area there to hit. And it still was deflected. But again, it's those little things, those little decisions. Again, another little decision like you touched on, Charles with the turn and then wonderfully on his left foot, just waiting a pass out to De Silva, who didn't have to even adjust his body at all, just took it, was able to dribble with it straight away. And it's those little things that you don't realize make a goal. Those build-up decisions are so influential. And I think, across the board, our midfielders have that in them. Like they know what to do at the right times. The system's clearly working for Ante. And when we're in that moment, like you can see that they're confident enough to try it. So it's wonderful to watch. Unfortunately, we have to say as well that we didn't have many fans at the game. Don't know what's going on there, but
yeah, I mean,
it's not good enough for a derby. You'd want to see more of a support even on an away day like that.
I mean, to be fair, I was going to go, but then I pulled the plug last minute. So, and I have a feeling a lot of other Macarthur supporters were feeling the same.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, you could look at it as it's close to Christmas. December's a very busy time of year. We've just come out of COVID. People are kind of poor, or we might go back into lockdown too. It's unlikely, but anyway, we've had 4 games in the Sydney region in a row to go and watch. Maybe, it's a case of not everyone who would want to go can make a game, or if they've already, if they wanted to go, they've probably already gone to a game, and not everyone's going to go to every single game. Like, you'd have to have a very dedicated fan base to have that. And because we're so young, we just don't have that.
I think a lot of fans as well are sort of holding out for that first home game on the weekend anyway.
Yes, absolutely right.
I know I am. I'll definitely be there.
Yeah,
at that one.
Not going to pull out at the last minute this time, are you?
Unless
I'll drag you along.
Unless COVID has any other ideas, but fingers crossed.
Hopefully, it doesn't scare people away. We're going to talk about that later, though.
And
the
second game,
goal,
sorry, I will say the game should hopefully still be going forward, because obviously the Jets are facing a bit of a COVID scare, but we'll get into that later. Now, before the second goal, yes, as soon as he came on,
I want to talk about it.
Yeah, this is the Holman hour.
Yes,
the next hour is just dedicated to Jake Holman. As soon as he came on, he was just immense. Like,
absolutely.
Every single, like we said it last year as well, every time he comes onto the pitch, he makes a difference. And we were wondering where he was this season, but in the post-game interview he said he'd been battling an injury. So I guess that's why he wasn't seeing much game time, but finally gets subbed on with some decent minutes, not just like a 5-minute cameo. He comes in at like the 70th minute. So he's got time to show what he can do, and he went and did it.
Yeah, he went and did it. He's an absolute dazzler, isn't he? Like, he's the kind of player you want to bring on when there's 20 minutes left, when there's tired legs of the opposition defense. And every touch he does is just kind of, class. He makes other players defending him hang off him. And that's the mark of a good player. Like, they're scared to dive in against him because they know with a quick little touch, he'll be around them and they'll be scurrying to cover. And so he just creates space for himself. He only had to apply the finish for his goal, but it's the other little touches. It's, he has a very good spatial awareness when the ball's coming towards him. He knows he can let it roll and knows sort of the pace on it. He can judge when defenders are around him and know if he has to, hold it up or he can let it roll and keep going. He's so good at those little body feints as well. No one can track where he's going.
Yeah.
And obviously we've seen a couple times before in the A-League, his fast feet, he can transition between skill moves, seamlessly. I reckon he'd be an absolute nightmare to defend against. And, he's shown why, and he will continue to show why across this season. I only hope that, as he transitions from sort of that bench player, impact player, to a starter, that he's not going to, go through a dip in form that's going to sort of harm his confidence, because I can see that happening. Sometimes those players get a little bit found out, or, they try a dribble and it doesn't work, and that sort of can play on their confidence. But everything he's trying is coming off at the moment, and he's just playing with supreme confidence, and the goal's only going to increase his confidence, which is amazing. He can definitely be that sort of Emile Smith-Rowe kind of playmaker, dribbler and dazzler that we want to see.
I think you only made that comment because he has blonde hair, but did Smith
and
Smith-Rowe,
Arsenal, they're doing well right now.
Yeah, in fourth. Smith-Rowe, to his credit, didn't he score this morning? Pretty good goal.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Tucked away similarly. I reckon, no, Jake Holman's not like Smith-Rowe. Smith-Rowe is like Jake Holman with the finish, right? Unerring. I mean, we can talk about the build-up, of course. Lockie getting it, winning sort of the ball in the midfield, which he did only a few times. But, he had to be there, and, to his credit, facing away from goal, has a good enough awareness to pop it back heel to De Silva, who carries it along at pace while holding off a defender, does really, really well. I noticed the midfield player, I think it was Katrumbis, who was tracking, and supposed to be following De Silva, kind of went to dive in but didn't. It was almost like a miscommunication between him and the defender. And Reece Williams, who's meant to be like a decent defender, he's played for the Socceroos before. He's just completely lost sight of Jake Holman streaming through that midfield. He had so much space. He could have taken another touch and then a shot. But De Silva, after he sort of gets it to the line of the box, lays it across for Holman, and Holman picked his spot and, executed a beautiful finish. Like, you don't save those ones. And, it hit the post and we're all thinking, oh, shit, it's not going to go in, but just picked that spot perfectly inside the post and it's in.
Yeah, very, instinctual finish, just like knows it's there, bang, rolls it past the keeper.
Yeah.
And
you know what? Class finish too, because most young players or even more experienced professionals, they might give it the laces there. They might take a touch and the moment's gone, but he's just rolled it through like he was passing to the post. And, that's the mark of a composed player, a player who's at the top of his game. And I'm so glad. I'm just so happy for Jake Holman, man, because like he's a gun and he needs that confidence to be at the top of his game.
Yeah, his first A-League goal as well, should we mention.
Absolutely.
So great for him to get off the mark. And yeah, I mean, the fact he had so much space, he sort of like lets the play get ahead of him and just sort of, eases his way out wider. And then he just got acres of space. But he actually starts like probably 15 or so meters behind Lockie when Lockie takes that first touch to then backheel it for De Silva. So, he's pretty much just sprinted from behind halfway to end up on the 18-yard box. And
yeah, exactly. Real quick thing. So like we often think of Lockie as being the quickest player in the side. But due to the sprints that they do in training, I've heard that Holman actually is the fastest in the team. So that makes a lot of sense then. If he's streaming up from midfield and getting forward, like, of course he's going to pop up there and would sneak in with the defenders unaware of him.
I thought Golek would have been the fastest in training.
Fastest into the change rooms to get a drink. Yeah, no, but a couple other things from the game. Adrian Mariappa actually made his start, which was a surprise. I thought he was quarantined for a bit longer after coming here. And I don't know if he actually had a serious session with the team or not, like if they talked about how they want to defend or anything like that. But when you got a player of that quality, you just trust him.
Yeah, I think they just like said, all right, centre back, you know how to defend, make it work. And he just gets his body in the right areas. His first touch as well, he sombreros it over a beanie or someone to, nice control, composed, and then just finds the pass. And I think he blocked about 3 or so shots that were headed for goal, just throwing his body in front. One of them, he sort of like jumps out to like put his chest on it, headers out. Really solid performance coming in with probably like one session with the team.
Yeah, probably, and not even a real session probably because they would have been recovering from the cup game.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolute mammoth of a player. He's going to be huge for us. You can tell if a defender's in form and like just, confident in doing his job right, if they're not like diving in at like trying to block shots too hard. Like if they just stand their ground, they're confident. They're in the mood.
Maldini said once, if I have to sprint, I've done my job wrong. And I did not once see Mariappa have to sprint this game.
Yeah, his positioning was class. And, it just adds a lot more confidence to an already, well-performing backline. It's great to know that we've got those options. We can afford to rest players. Like Sujnia probably needs a bit of a rest. Like he's playing really well and you want to have him in there. But, as we think of the season that rolls on, he's played a lot of minutes recently. So maybe he needs to have a rest for a bit. But a couple other things I wanted to touch on. Curto with the absolute shithousery, time wasting when we needed it. I feel like this is the pattern of our play now. We get a goal up and it's very much, take our time, I think we've had the most like stoppage time out of any side across the season so far, just because, I mean, obviously Yuli's injury against Central Coast, but we do tend to, once we get up, we just are wasting time. And a couple of ways that Kurto does that, I've noticed when there's a goal kick, he like clearly sees a ball on the ground on a little tee, but he just is looking further like into the crowd. If the ball's gone in there, he's asking the ball boy, where's the ball? All this sort of stuff. Just these little micro things. He dives when there's a shot that goes wide, even though it's already over the line, like almost sarcastically.
Doing the Pettit check where the ball's rolling towards him and then he like dives on it and holds it up and just like sits there for 6 seconds and then takes the 6 seconds to kick it.
Yep. Changing sides when there's a goal kick, like every little dark art, every trick in the book. Even late on when Western Sydney Wanderers fans, I think someone threw like something small towards him and he went up to the ref who was at like halfway and was like, I can't take a goal kick because they're throwing stuff at me. So, you know, I mean, obviously he's got to look after his safety, but again, that's a nice little bit of time waste, particularly in extra time. So I just wanted to, you know, have that. He's not just a pretty face who can stop shots and save goals. He's a smart one, and it's working in our favor really well. Apart from that, like, I think we just turned up more than them. Like, you can tell how players feel about their coach by how much effort they're putting in. I don't think Wanderers really deeply care about Carl Robinson. I mean, maybe there's just a little bit of feeling like they're going to do it because they're quality players and they're getting paid probably a lot. But there's a real sense of togetherness in the MacArthur squad that you don't often see. And everyone turns up for each other. You know, after Holman scored his goal, Rusi and a couple other subs are just running over to give him a big hug. You know, it really is MacArthur, a team, right? Individuals who make a team, whereas Wanderers are a team of individuals. And after the game, I had a chat to a few of my Wanderers supporting mates, and they're very much on the Carl out bandwagon now. They don't want him there.
Yeah, it seems like whenever we beat a team, they just go into managerial hysterics. You know, happened with Sydney with Corica out, and then we beat Wanderers and they want their manager out too. So
we're the coach killers.
Coach killers. I think we did it last season as well to
Rudin.
Rudin didn't get sacked, did he? Almost.
He got told his contract's not getting renewed. After he played us. Anyhow, it was fantastic to see. Like, I don't know, if you had told me at the start of the season, after the preseason we had, that we were going to go to Sydney and win, we were going to, you know, be top of the table, and we're going to go to Western Sydney and win.
And we're going to only concede.
I would have beat your hand off to get that.
Yeah, and we're only going to concede one goal while doing it in the first 4 games.
Completely unexpected.
Yeah, huge turnaround.
And, it's been brilliant. It's fantastic to see, and I think that will just grow in confidence as the season goes on. The longer we can keep that clean sheet too, teams will start to have it in their head that they can't score against us. It brings up a few questions about like, what will we do? How will we react when we do go down? Because I imagine at some point in the season we'll be behind chasing the game.
Yeah.
Will that really leave us open? Will we really push teams forward, ourselves forward, to try and get that goal? I don't know. But for now, it's working. We're snagging that goal and just defending to the hilt.
Yeah. I guess before we preview the next game for our Bulls against Newcastle Jets, was there any players you wanted to, you know, talk about the performance? Because I thought our Hassan Toure in his first start for us, looking solid. You can definitely see what he's going to bring to the attack with, like, he looks so calm and composed on the ball. And just as soon as he gets that first touch, the defenders always look like they're on the back foot. And it sort of brings the finesse to the front line to make those passes that, you know, sometimes Lockie will get the ball and it'll be like a scuffed pass that doesn't really hit feet to us, and then we lose it in transition. And we saw with Toure, he was able to keep the momentum going when we're moving forward.
Yeah, he's a dangerous player. I think he's still getting used to playing with the boys and in the system and then in the way that Ante wants him to play. I mean, he was nearly a second striker up with Lockie a couple times in the first half. And I think it showed by the territory stats that we were mainly going down Noon's wing rather than Torre's wing. I don't know if he was just arriving late to receive the ball or whatnot, but when we were able to get the ball out there and when he had the ball at his feet, he was really, really dangerous. However, I will say he doesn't look like he's in a real like flow state at the moment. And that's not to say that like I'm expecting him to be, but when you're so used to, you know exactly where everyone's going to be, you know, you can trust that you're going to go forward and try and beat someone. I think he was a little bit worried about his defensive duties at the same time. So you'll see if you watch it back, he does the same move like 2-3 times where he's dribbling towards the defender. The defender's turned him around because he hasn't, sort of bought the dummy. And so instead of, recycling the ball back out, he dribbles sort of facing the sideline, does a ball roll as if he's going back, and then does that quick feint to try and go down the line again. It could work, but if it becomes a move that he's sort of known for, the defenders are going to start to pick up on it. So he's got to vary it up a bit, but it was very sharp. But I think he's kind of got that in his head, like, I'm going to try this now. And if you're doing that, if you're thinking about what you're going to do before you do it, it's going to be a lot less spontaneous, a lot more readable. So he's just got to start playing in that flow state, which is hard to do. But yeah, it's when he's reactive, like we saw it against us last season when the Bulls went down to Adelaide and we lost 3-1 on that night, and he played amazing. He dribbled through like 3 players like they were traffic cones. And I think that's the difference, right? Like he was in a flow state there. Whereas the other night, on his debut, you're not expecting him to light the world on fire. Still some good touches, but he's not where he can be yet. I mean, he's got a ceiling to reach yet.
I think he's more likely to be in that flow state when he's running at the defense with the ball in the final third. Whereas, a lot of times he'll just receive the ball, have the defender right up on him, and then
and facing away from goal.
Facing away from goal.
Not how he wants it.
No. But yeah, the man playing behind him, Moody Najjar, he gets another start. Thoughts?
I thought he was ordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought like the ball was being worked out to him. Defensively, he was fine. Like he pocketed Aquilina pretty well, kept him out of our box and didn't let too many crosses come in. I mean, that's where they were the most dangerous from the crosses in that area. But I think he shut him down fairly well, considering Aquilina is much faster than him.
There was one time where Aquilina popped it over Moody's head and then got a cross in, but nothing came of it anyway. So
yeah,
and I think it's good having Shuzhnia in behind him, because it sort of gives him that. It should hopefully give him more confidence to know if he gets skinned, Shuzhnia can just clean it up.
Yeah, and then he just has to slot in again behind him. But yeah, I think going forward, he was a bit ordinary, and it's not what you want from someone who counts themselves as a left winger. I just think maybe it wasn't him, but the system that Western Sydney played made it so difficult for him to play the right ball. Getting it up to Torre. Torre always had one on him and then one inside. So if he ever took the touch, it was bang straight on him. They could shut down the lane that Moody wanted to pass up the line to Al Hassan Torre. And then in the midfield, because we have the 2 higher and 2 lower midfielders, and they just had a midfield 3, all they had to do was press up, and our, deep lying midfielders were starved of possession because they'd always have 2 on them. And because we're not the fastest side of moving it around very quickly, especially when we're on halfway, when we're trying to pick that right pass, that right moment, it made it hard for our wing backs, especially, to get a ball into the midfield for that 1-2. So you often saw them go long, or Najjar, who I think his heart's in the right place. He's trying to just move the ball on quickly, but he picked out some of the opposition a bit too often for my liking.
Yeah, I think he definitely just needs more time in that role. And I sort of maybe feel like he's been thrown in the deep end a little bit with playing him at left wing back, because there'll be times, especially early in games, where he'll receive the ball or it'll be a switch to him, and he'll sort of miscontrol it over the sideline, or like he's had 2 or 3 of those a game. And when you're trying to play this possession game of football, you don't want to be losing the ball in that area, like if we're on halfway or trying to work it out from the back. So I don't know whether he's sort of been thrown in a deep end and just lacks that bit of confidence. Because like everyone at that level is going to have the first touch. Like no matter who you are, you're going to have a good first touch, but it's whether you have like the confidence at the right moment. And that should hopefully come as the season progresses.
I think he's just a bit young in that position. He's obviously still playing out of position pretty much. So if he wants to make that his own, he'll need more experience and he'll need to put in a bit better performance than he did. I think it was just panic, really. Like he knows, as soon as I get the ball here, if it's like near halfway, I got to try and move it up. And there were no options for him a lot of the time. So he'd often put his foot on the ball, pass it around the back, and then it was going out to Noon's wing, who, he was maybe making those little different runs. Maybe he was able to find that 1-2 or dribble a player. But yeah, Moody's I just don't think he had his best night, and that's all right. He can come back next week and do it better.
Plus, as you said, when he has Toure in front of him, who's staying higher up the field next to Lockie as like a forward, he's not going to have that option like he had when, a De Silva plays in front of him, who's going to drop in to collect the ball. And obviously when
Toure's playing more centrally, like it's pretty much do I go midfield? No, there's a midfielder there blocking the pass to my midfielder. Do I go to the striker? No, because there's a couple midfielders who could block it or a defender. And if Toure's not offering line, then what's he going to do? Dribble him? Like there's a bit out of options there.
Yeah. Plus, then when we eventually have a De Villa back in the side, he'll be adding a bit more movement to our midfield. And, with De Villa, you can sort of just ping the ball at him and he'll control it. So,
yeah. Well, we certainly look forward to him being back, but it won't be for a few weeks yet.
I think it's definitely good that we got the win without De Villa in the side. Says a lot about the team.
There's a lot of heart. And like I said before, they'll run through brick walls for each other. That brings us nicely onto our game this Sunday up against the Jets, 4 p.m. at Campbelltown Stadium, forecasted to be a nice sunny day. And, as long as COVID doesn't keep increasing its numbers, then there should be a nice crowd there. Our return to Campbelltown Stadium, much looking forward to that one. But speaking of COVID, there's a couple of Jets players who won't be making the trip down. So Angus Thurgate, who's really been like a changed player under Arthur Papas. Like he always had a little bit about him, but really this season he's gone from strength to strength. He won't be available. He's been their midfield anchor, deep lying playmaker sort of player, but he's contracted COVID, and then his roommate as well, Noah James, who's the Jets backup keeper, won't be making it down to Campbelltown. So that game should be still going ahead. In fact, it was announced today that it definitely is still going ahead, despite those players being missing. But we've got a few other players to worry about because the Jets have been absolutely on fire lately. They smashed Wellington 4-0 on the Saturday night. And not only that, every game they've been in this year, they've looked like outscoring their opposition, even if the results haven't necessarily gone their way. Valentino Yule's been playing out of his skin. Mikkel Tadze looks a very dangerous striker, almost in the same ilk as Berisha, like very tenacious, a bit of skill, can finish from anywhere. You got Daniel Pena and Dacunia as well, right? Like these are very good players, attacking midfielders. It's like having two De Villas out there, the way they're playing, stringing the balls together. Like if you look at those highlights from the Wellington game that they had, those 4 goals, every single one could have been a Premier League goal. Like they were stringing passes together like peak Barca.
Yeah, Yule is on fire. So I worry about the havoc he's going to cause down our right side. If we can hold him at bay, but I don't think he even scored in the 4-0 win. And, the rest of the team just was quality. So,
yep, absolutely. He'll be a definite handful for Craig Noon. I feel like there'll be moments in the game where we're just defending really closely on the edge of our box. We'll have, 5 across the back line and all of our midfielders pulled back, and might be one out a little bit for Lockie Rose or whoever starts up top. But when we do have time and space and, we wrestle a bit of possession back, I think we've got the quality to beat this side. You look at their midfield without like the deeper midfielders, without Angus Thurgate there, you got Jordan O'Doherty and then a bunch of like younger NPL sort of style players. Jordan O'Doherty is a midfielder who used to play for Western Sydney Wanderers. He did his ACL, I believe, and then he had a season at Adelaide where he didn't really break into the first team too much, and now he's been picked up by the Jets. So, still a young player, still learning his trade, and I think that could be a bit of a vulnerability for the Jets.
Yeah, especially since, we've definitely looked the strongest we ever had in the attacking third. And if they don't have, the personnel of Thurgate operating in that defensive midfield area, I could see De Silva or Noon being able to get plenty of space just to run at the defense and create a ton of chances for us.
We also have to talk about Bumal. Now he's the right winger. So it's like you got Yule on the left, Bumal on the right, Pena attacking midfielder, Mikkel Tadze up top. And then they were usually playing O'Doherty and Thurgate in the midfield. So obviously that deeper midfielder will be, probably a younger bloke like maybe Sam Silvera comes in or Costa Grozos. But defensively, it's a weird one. They got experience, but are they the best players ever? I mean, you cast your mind back to the 4-0 win we had against Adelaide United. Jordan Elsey was in that side, and he just was getting picked apart by Derbyshire in the air and on the ground. Matt Yerman, who used to play for Sydney FC, has come into their side sort of as a marquee centre back, and he's their captain. But he's looked a little bit shaky the first few weeks as well. So I think certainly we can hurt them going forward. But man, they're going to be hard to keep out. Like if we can keep a clean sheet against them, there's no reason why we can't win this game.
Yeah, I mean, could definitely see it being a 2-2, which would be an exciting game. At least above 3.5 goals scored. Take that one to the bookies. That's the Bull Banter bet of the week.
But ironically, the club's just come out with like an anti-gambling campaign, so maybe don't take it to the bookie.
Well, I did see that. Props to MacArthur for that because,
it's a strain on our community, isn't it?
Yeah, you could see 5 years' time though. It would be funny if we have a betting sponsor like 32 Bet or Blue Bet Stadium. Yeah, that was a bit.
That's where we played it in Penrith.
Yeah.
But I think you've called it for 2-2. I think it'll be a high scoring affair as well. I think it could even be like a 3-2 or a 3-1. I can't even tell if the Bulls are going to win it or not. I wonder if we're able to score 3 goals in this system. Like, if we can be clinical, sure. But I think most of the attacking play is going to go to the Jets side. I think as much as my heart tells me we're top of the league, we're going to win, we're unstoppable at the moment. This could go anywhere. I actually can't make a solid prediction for you because I'm pretty stumped on this one.
Yeah, like if we look back to the game so far this season, like there hasn't been less than 3 goals per game for the Jets so far. So even though they can be leaky at the back, but I think they're sort of relying on, it doesn't matter if we're shit at defense, like we're going to outscore you.
Concede 4, score 5.
Yeah.
They're a glass cannon, scoring a lot in attack, but very vulnerable, in defense. Whereas we're the exact opposite. So it'll be an interesting fixture nonetheless, just to see the experiment of, pretty much the best attack in the league versus the best defense in the league, who's going to come out on top. I think the longer we go into the game with it being 0-0, the better it is for us. And, at home, you'd want to get an early goal and all that sort of stuff. But I think we're pretty comfortable just defending, letting other teams have the ball. I don't know if we want to do that against such an exciting attacking unit like Newcastle. particularly when, some of the goals they've scored, like, unbelievable. They're playing out of their skin this season. But, maybe we change things up a bit. Maybe we go back to the old way of doing it where we try and outpossess, and maybe that's safer for us, even if we don't necessarily have the same sort of cohesion going through midfield as we did last season. The likes of Genre and Banyat and Sicilietta, you can't really just replace them, even though we've brought in quality. But because of the injuries we've got, I don't know if much is going to come back for this one. Tommy Juric, I mean, we want him to start, but who knows what's going on with him. He didn't get any minutes against the Wanderers, so it's a bit of an enigma. So you'd think probably Tommy Orr's slotting into that midfield again alongside Mumboa, and then De Silva and another midfielder in the attacking space. Maybe a Holman gets a start. Maybe Touré's starting there again. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. So I honestly can't come up with a prediction for you apart from that it's going to be a cracking match.
Yeah, that's all you can really hope for as a football fan. It's nice winning 1-0, but you want to see some quality football. Everybody loves some goals. So yeah, expecting a big one on the weekend, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also think our clean sheet's probably not going to be clean. It'll be filthy, dirty sheet.
It's good that Curto's been, on top form. Just depends whether
this weekend.
Yeah, definitely tested. He's been tested in every game pretty much. He's saved about 2 goals in each game for sure. Some games even more. So just a matter of, has our time come that we're going to finally start conceding?
Yeah, I just hope if we do concede that we don't concede first, because that'll be a real challenge. At home, the fans might get a little bit on our backs, on the players' backs, because we want to see, obviously, the team continue to win and be top of the table. And there's no reason why we can't. But, every week it's sort of the same story of, at least the media portraying it this way of, how long can MacArthur keep it going like this? Surely they'll concede this week. Surely they'll concede next week. It'd be a nice story if we just never conceded. But, that's what dreams are made of. And we live in a real world. So we've got to be real careful this weekend with Newcastle Jets attack. But the boys, if they stick to their guns and, if we do go down early, don't get weathered or don't get, upset by it, and just push on, stick to the plan, and we should be able to get it done.
Yeah, 100%. I think definitely expecting points. Yeah. I don't think we're
the Bulls, and I don't think we're top of the table still.
I don't think we're walking away this weekend with 0 points. So a draw or a win, keep the roll going. Hopefully we can stay at the top of the table, or at least, up there still. Yeah.
It's a big test for us. And like I said, it'll take place at Campbelltown Stadium, 4 p.m. on Sunday. Hope to see you there. It'll be a nice occasion with the Bulls coming back home, and hopefully the boys can get the business done for us. And we thank you, as always, for listening to another episode of Bull Banter. Make sure you go ahead and share the shit out of it. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram. That's where most of our content takes place. So if you're not on there, get on there. And we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah. Happy holidays. Be safe over the festive season, and go you Bulls.
Yeah. Take care.